CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Havana calling. CQDX, CQDX, CQDX. This is Radio Havana calling all shortwave listeners and radio amateurs. Welcome to... DXers Unlimited, Radio Havana's weekly feature dedicated to the fascinating world of radio communications.
Hola, mis amigos radio aficionados all around the world and orbiting planet Earth aboard the International Space Station, where the Russian crew members have enjoyed recently sending slow scan television signals on the 145.800 frequency with excellent results. Yes, amigos, radio amateurs are in space and having a good time during the short periods when they can take a break from the very demanding duties aboard the complex spaceship. I am Arnaldo Arnicoro, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host here, the one and only radio hobby show that receives and answers all your questions related to the wonderful way you and I enjoy our free time, playing with our radios. Now, here is item 2. At the start-up of the spring and summer sporadic E-layer season, I sent a reply to a listener that wanted to know what was the forecast for this year's E-skip season. Here's what I wrote to Amigo John in Michigan, USA during late April. Amigo John, here's my forecast. Expect above average 6 meters sporadic summer season. There is a very clear inverse correlation between periods of very low solar activity and the occurrence of sporadic events. Also, there is a clear inverse correlation between periods of low solar activity and higher solar magnetic field activity. I will be looking for you with my 6 meters QRP 5 watts and my simple sloping dipole antenna system. And yes, I have worked many 6 meter stations from Havana using a 55 inches width quarter wave antenna with just one ground radio. During several good transatlantic band openings, 6 meter operators this summer, all along the east coast of Canada and the USA, were able to make many nice contacts using typical stations running no more than 100 watts, single sideband, and a 3 or 4 or 5 element Yagi antenna. Simple setups. Caribbean stations also enjoyed the openings to Europe and to North America. For TV DXers in the USA, this season brought the possibility of picking up many Mexican, Central America, and Cuban analog television stations that are still on the air using the NTSC-M 525 lines resolution transmission standard, now in the process of being phased out in favor of digital TV over-the-air broadcast. Yes, it is perfectly possible to build a very simple amateur radio CW radio telegraphy transmitter, as I have stated here many times, using a minimum of parts, and yet achieve reliable and good quality results. It does need very careful construction to make the self-oscillating hardware rate stable enough to be able to use it on the amateur bands. Results so far show that on the 160, 80, and 40 meter bands, using just 10 individual parts, the rig built around a single vacuum tube may be used on the air with excellent results on CW. Now let me tell you that when I sent the original schematic of the Hartley single vacuum tube power oscillator to a friend of mine that is a senior telecommunications engineer, professor at the Havana's famous Cuhai Technical University, he came back immediately to tell me not to dare put that transmitter on the air ever, because he said it would drift badly and produce an awful keying CW note. Then my reply went back with an MP3 file of the sound of the Hartley power oscillator on the air. A nice, clean, stable signal free of frequency drift or keying chirp. It was a courtesy of my Italian friend Cristiano Greggio, who has spent a lot of time recently experimenting with simple vacuum tubes receiving and transmitting equipment that are producing really amazing results. More about low-cost amateur radio equipment, homebrew equipment, coming up in a few seconds. I'm Arnicoro, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host in La Habana, Cuba. Yes, amigos, you're listening to Radio Havana Cuba, and here is more about low-cost, simple equipment for enjoying the radio hobby without having to apply for bankruptcy. There is no doubt that professional radio receivers designed and built by the German firm Rode and Schwartz are among the best in the world, no doubt about that. Then you may want to know that a very simple red Generodyne home-built vacuum tubes receiver is matching and even exceeding the sensitivity of one of the classic Rode and Schwartz high-frequency radios. Amazing as it may sound, it is fully documented with many actual comparative tests using the same antenna switch between the two radios. Using an ECH81 or ECH83 triode heptode tube frequency conversion stage, feeding another identical tube used as a regenerative detector and first audio amplifier, when operating on the 40 meters to 7 MHz amateur band, reception is very good. And it certainly makes possible to detect very weak signals that are buried into the front-end noise of the professional receiver, expensive professional receiver, I may add. My now in the works project will add a front-end dual-tune bandpass input filter and a single pentode radio frequency amplifier stage just to compensate for the signal loss in the filter, the front-end filter. All my audio modules will also contemplate the use of two audio filters, one for CW and one for single sideband voice. I have now almost all the parts needed for the project and ready to start testing each component, something that I always do one by one before starting to place the parts into circuit boards or chassis point-to-point wiring system in order to avoid the problems associated with using a defective part on a new radio. It can be simply mind-boggling to fix it. Believe me, testing each and every part before assembly is a really sound construction practice. Also, follow my advice and never start the building process before you have at hand all the parts required for the project. Talking about simple receivers and transmitters, let me add that my favorite band for them to operate is 40 meters, 7 MHz, because during the daytime it provides very nice local and semi-local coverage, and at night it changes into a wonderful band for making DX contacts all around the world. 40 meters will continue to be a very reliable band for nighttime DXing for the next 2 to 3 years, amigos. That is why installing a nice 7 MHz antenna is also a worthwhile home project, especially if you can add to it wire elements for the 30 and 20 meters band on the same feed line. And now here is Ask Arnie, the most popular section of DXers Unlimited. Listener Gilbert from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, sent an email telling me of the nice results he has achieved with his 14 meters long TTFD antenna. Gilbert says reception from 5 to 30 MHz is excellent, and he has already tested the antenna for transmitting on the 30 and 20 meters band, making comparative tests with half-wave dipoles for each band. Arnie, he writes, your version of the TTFD using the 800 ohms terminating resistor and 9-to-1 balance into 75 ohms coaxial cable down lead works well on both 30 meters and 20 meters, and is usable for daytime short-range contacts on 40 meters too. Gilbert also says that he picks up our 6,100 kHz transmission to the Pacific coast of North America just like a local FM station, he said, something that made our chief engineer, our new chief engineer, Argelio Rodriguez, a very happy person indeed. You can send your signal reports and comments as always to info.rhc@enet.cu and via airmail to Arnie Coro, Radio Havana Cuba, Havana, Cuba.
And that's all for today. This is Arnie Coro, Radio Amateur CO2KK, your host here at Radio Havana's DXers Unlimited, saying 73 and very good DX.
Thanks, Arnie. Arnie Coro, DXers Unlimited here.